It's book review time, and this one is Business Made Simple by Mr. Donald Miller. Now, don't let the title of this one deceive you because if you are an entrepreneur like me, maybe a busy executive, a business leader, the title may make this seem like it's a bit elementary and maybe not for the more advanced business person or the advanced business leader, but it is anything but that. In fact, I'm going to go as far as to put this maybe on the verge of my top 10 books of all time. Okay, let's start with what I really liked about this book. Now, as the title says right here, it is 60 days to master leadership, sales, marketing, execution, management, personal productivity, and more. So, I think when we talk about marketing, we talk about leadership or running a business, we often think of leadership. We often think of culture. But so often we miss a lot of stuff. One of them is marketing, personal brand, it's customer acquisition, it's negotiation, it's a lot of things. But guess what? All of that is in this book. So the way I saw it, the way I read it, was that every chapter is a new day. And there are 60 chapters that all cover all these different things in all different sections. And a couple of big takeaways for me, and there are many, but I try to distill it down to two, was he talks about negotiations and there being two types. One being collaborative and one being competitive. To prevent any kind of spoiler alert, I'm not going to go into that, but I always enjoy when someone can change my thinking or get me thinking differently. And he did exactly that. Donald Miller also talks about being a value-driven professional several times throughout the book. And I align with that because a lot of what I do, I think, should be purposeful. It should go back to my mission, my vision, my values, and just my core beliefs. So I'm going to read you a quote that kind of stuck with me that I bookmarked. And he says, a value-driven professional can get twice as much done in the same period of time as a professional who does not use time strategically. And of course, we all know time is our most valuable asset. It is irreplaceable. And so a lot of what he shares are things that'll help you with a lot of this stuff, which is productivity, maximizing your output, and also ultimately just being the best version of you. A couple things I didn't like, and typically I try to include 3 of them in these videos, but there really wasn't more than 2. And I would say that they're pretty high level complaints, if anything. Number 1 was the book gets off to a really slow start, to the point to where in the first 20 pages, I considered dropping this, stopping reading it because it felt almost too basic and too elementary. However, as I zoom out and I look back at this whole book, the one thing is that he lays the groundwork for why this is important. And because I think I got so much value in the next 10 pages, I was like, okay, yeah, this is pretty good. I kept reading. So I want to do one more thing, and I want to read another quote from this book that really stuck with me. And there are a lot, but I've got this here on my phone. And he says, when deciding what your division or your company produces, it is important that whatever you choose has 3 characteristics. Number 1, it must be measurable. Number 2, it must be profitable. Number 3, it must be scalable. So when I look back at my journey in entrepreneurship and the businesses that I've been involved with or worked for, I think those are 3 really simple, important things that you have to look at. Is what you're doing measurable? Because if it's not measurable, it's almost not worth doing. Also, is the business or the industry you're in, maybe the product you're trying to launch, bring to market, is it profitable? Because if it's not, I can tell you, this will lead to burnout, no question. And then more importantly, I've always said this, but now I'm kind of merging all these things together, is it scalable? Because if it's not scalable, you're going to hit a ceiling where you want to get out of this business, and it won't take very long. No business is really worth doing if it's only going to generate $50,000 for the most part. So that was thought-provoking. It stuck with me. I'd be really curious if you've read this book, maybe throw it in the comments below. Was there anything that stuck out to you? Because I'd love to hear it now. So as I look back at this book, one of the things that I do that I would encourage you to do as well is there's a term I came about called marginalia. And that is where you make notes in the crux of the book. I happen to use Post-it notes, which I have a lot of. and I'll go back and I'll review things. I'll write them down, put them in a journal, whatever it is, and try to apply them to the things that I'm working on right now in my business and in my life. I would encourage you to do the same. As much as my reading comprehension is as good as anyone else's, sometimes these nuggets that you get are just so good that I want to make sure I don't forget these things. These are things that I think are so valuable that I need to instill in my life. So as I look back at let's see, I've read 12 books this year. This is by far the most post-it notes I've put in a book to date. And so that speaks to the value of Donald Miller. What I'm going to do is I'm going to rate this book to wrap up this video, and I am going to give this a 4.75, which is probably one of the higher ratings I've had in a long time. But this needs to be in your queue if you are big on business books, whether it's marketing, leadership, efficiency. This checks a lot of books, and I would highly recommend you checking this out. Thanks for watching.